In today's video, I'm going to be talking about some of the new configuration changes within DVI Suite. Let's go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to want to do is click on the DVI Suite icon. It's important to remember you need to be logging in as an administrator, or some of these options that we're talking about today will not appear. If you don't see the configuration icon here to the far right, that means you are not logged in as an administrator. Click on the configuration icon, and I'm going to direct your attention over to the users section. Click on the Users section. Once in the Users section, we have added the ability now to hide or enable checklist and smart status. To do this, simply click on any one of your current users or your new user. Scroll to the far right, select the columns you want to enable or disable. Scroll back to the left and click Update. It's just that easy. The next section I want to direct your attention to is the interfaces and options. There are some new features here, such as default vehicle language. You now have the option to choose between English, French, or Spanish. This is going to allow the default virtual vehicle language to be selected for you. By default, it is set to English. You can now allow technicians to clock onto multiple jobs, which is simply just a check mark. You now also have the option to allow a tech to clock onto a job if they're not punched into the employee time clock. This can be particularly handy if you are using a third-party payroll system. You also have the option to allow your technician to be punched out of all jobs when they punch out of RWriter for the day. If you've ever been curious about what features you are licensed to or could be licensed to within RWriter DVI Suite, you now have an optional features section that will allow you to know which features are available or which features you have access to in the DVI Suite. Moving on to the authorization section. The authorization section we've recently went over in detail for the texting and estimate authorizations, but to enable either one of these, you do have to have a check mark here to allow the text message authorization. However, estimate authorizations will always be enabled whether you use them or not. You can also have it authorized depending on which labor operation you have selected. So it's a really handy feature that's available now under the authorization section. Moving back up to the smart status window, I want to touch on some of the new fields that we've recently added. We used to have a text message opt-out field and a text message disclaimer field, but now we have more than just that under the smart status configuration. You now have an option to send a specific message when texting the customer a video. You have a specific message you can send the customer when texting them a checklist. And you also have a message that you can send them when texting a repair order. By default, we already have a message loaded in there with some very basic verbiage, but you can go ahead and change that to whatever you feel is necessary for your store. Underneath the checklist sections, we have added a few new options here, and it's primarily to do with animations, items that add animation. So items that add animation are going to work off of items that are on your checklist, and it's going to be dependent on the condition that you've chosen. If you notice here, as we look at the AC, we have it may require attention, and it's going to go ahead and assign a heating/AC animation to the checklist for the customer to view. Again, this is something you can predefine and pre-map ahead of time if you have access to virtual vehicle. It can be customized to anything you wish, and you can choose new animations by clicking the attach animations to a checklist item/condition, like so. For instance, I'll choose coolant. It's going to ask me what condition I'm choosing, and I'm just going to say topped off. And from here, you can search for an animation that would be available to you. And that's just some of the new configuration features that are available to you within the brand new DVI Suite. Again, if you haven't already, be sure to head to the App Store and download the latest version for your iOS device or Android device from the Google Play Store.